Hey everybody, what's going on? This is Scott Garber back in the saddle on the Profluent Sports Podcast, where we are highlighting innovators, founders, executives across the whole sporting landscape. Today, we have another exciting guest who not only participated and played at the highest level in football here in the US, but now is making an impact in the fandom space. It's not my story to tell, so I'm excited to welcome our good friend Chris Hetherington to the podcast. Chris, my man, how we doing today?
Doing well, Scott. Good to be here. Appreciate you having me. Excited to dig in.
Yeah, this is a long time coming, Chris. You know, it's funny. We were just catching up before this, talking about early Clubhouse days and, when our paths initially crossed, and to watch now 5 years later where you've been able to navigate things is nothing short of remarkable. But, Chris, I think it's so important that we understand the origin story of who you are, the person behind the captain of the ship. So go ahead, give us a little insight to who you are and what your journey's been like to Fatheads.
Yeah, for sure, Scott. I grew up in Connecticut. I grew up in a little small town in Connecticut. Went to Yale for undergrad. Played Yale youth hockey as a kid and always wanted to go to Yale and was fortunate enough to get in. And so had a really great experience. Played baseball for a few years there as well. Ended up playing in the NFL for 11 years. I was an undrafted free agent. I played quarterback in college. When I went to college, I was a running back and safety. They moved me to quarterback my freshman year. And so played quarterback all 4 years, came out as like an athlete. Signed with Cincinnati originally as an undrafted free agent. They moved me to fullback, which was nuts. Never blocked anybody in my life, and made a living on special teams for a couple of years. I was in Indy for 3 years, Carolina for 3 years, which was a lot of fun. West Coast offense, they use a fullback a lot. Then went to St. Louis for a year, and Oakland for 2 years, and then finished my career in San Fran. Unfortunately, made fullback money, didn't make quarterback money, so I had to go to work for a living, and was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. And I took the executive programs at Harvard and Wharton. I joined a hedge fund in 2008. I was there for a total of 11 years, had a bunch of different roles there. Went the entrepreneur route about 5 years ago and started a brand in the health and wellness space. And then really got lucky. I was in the right place at the right time. And one of my dear friends from Yale lives in Detroit, got to know the former owner and CEO of Fathead. The story is Dan Gilbert owned this brand for a long time, and Dan had some health issues about 5 years ago. And so Tony took the business over and long story short, convinced him to sell it to us, put together a really great team of operators and executives with deep relationships in sports and entertainment and culture. And, we closed the transaction at the end of 2023 and really been digging in and in the meantime and really cleaning up the business and laying the foundation for growth. I felt like for the first time in my career, we're kind of starting on third base, right? We had 194 licenses with some of the most epic IP in sports and entertainment. We had 2 million email subscribers, 300,000 SMS subscribers. My partners and I were looking at each other like, shoot, is this a melting ice cube or a sleeping giant? The more we dug in, the more we realized with the right operators, the right strategic growth plan and the right relationships, this thing could be big. And so we spent a lot of time over the last year plus, Scott, really cleaning up the business, laying the foundation for growth. And we couldn't be any more excited to really make an impact, to bring fans closer to what they love and celebrate fandom. And, we have an exciting journey ahead of us.
No, I mean, it's so neat to hear that. And we're going to go a couple layers deeper on a few points there. But, timing's everything's, Chris, right? And, the amount of attention that is pointed towards the asset class of sports and really the beacon that it is to pull people together, I think goes way beyond the court, field, rink. And, I remember growing up that, Fathead was a staple. You had these big stickers that would go on your wall. They were very prevalent, and then they sort of fell off a little bit. And so, I want to understand, like, as you come in with your, tenure in sport and then your tenure, in the hedge fund and building, what is it like to absorb a brand that maybe has sort of gone off the cliff and come out of like the limelight? And what is the proper mechanics or operators you need to put in the business in order to, sort of regain that brand equity that was once there?
Yeah, it's a good point, Scott. When we looked at the business, we realized the brand is still strong, right? The brand equity, the brand awareness. And to your point, it's dropped off over the last couple of years. And that's really due to marketing, right? Didn't have the right marketing strategy. And I think, back in the day, the brand was everywhere, right? TV commercials, Super Bowl ads, all over ESPN, and those, big, exciting, emotional commercials. In today's world, it's different, right? It's all about social and social selling and live selling and affiliate partnerships, influencer partnerships, with athletes. We have several athletes on our cap table. For us, we saw it as an incredible opportunity to kind of refresh the brand and bring it back to culture in a big way. And, I think the reality, what we noticed early on is, most people, I would say 21 and above, know what the brand is, have, very good experience with the brand. They either had a Fathead or they wanted one or their neighbor had one. But my 10-year-old son, for example, Jack, he's a maniac athlete, as we were talking about earlier. He had no idea what Fathead is, right? And that's our core demo. When I bought the business with my partners, I ordered him a Christian McCaffrey decal, and he thought it was the coolest thing ever. And then, all his friends wanted one, and we designed custom decals for his baseball team, his all-star baseball team, and really started to spread. And so, a really big way we're going to bring this brand back to culture, as I articulated earlier, is youth sports. And so we're really ingrained in youth sports in a big way. We were talking about, we have a great partnership with Flexwork Sports. We're talking to Unrivaled. We're talking to Max Preps. We're talking to Perfect Game. We did a big deal with AYF. They have 30,000 teams globally. So, what I say all the time to investors, we're a marketing company, right? We have great brand awareness, great brand equity, have a loyal fan base, but it's all about marketing. And so, when we first got involved in the business, we were really focused on, that bottom of the funnel performance marketing, kind of playing this ROAS game. And now it's, we're investing in brand and, top of the funnel brand to really, drive this brand back to culture again. And we have incredible products. We bought the business. We had over 55,000 SKUs on the website. So we looked at the historical sales data. We hired an incredible product team to lay out our product innovation roadmap. And we've trimmed about 27,000 SKUs off the website. When we bought it, we had 194 licenses in sports and entertainment. Typical 80-20, right? Where the top 20 licenses doing about 80% of the revenue. And then really what I'm somewhat most excited about is the custom side of the business. I mean, that's a big business for us and a huge, total addressable market, whether it's, capturing my son winning Little League championship or birthdays, graduations, bar mitzvahs. We sell a lot of pets. And so, we're embarking on a really fun journey, and it's fun to bring this brand back to culture again. We have a big opportunity to be, ingrained in youth sports in a big way. And as there's a lot of strategies, right? We're looking at who our customers are. We've invested pretty heavily in technology and AI and automation, kind of to create this persona-driven marketing strategies. And so it's a lot of work, but we have a really great team and we have a really great partners and we have a great opportunity.
No, it's really cool, man. And, I'm curious, we talked about this last night on a panel, when you talk about, north of 150 IP license that you guys are able to use, and we're watching a lot of iteration around the legal side of IP, with the advancement of technology, with name, image, and likeness now moving downstream into sports. I'm curious, as you look on the horizon, like from a business lens, are you guys looking to secure more licenses? Are you able to extend the existing ones that you have? Because we know it's an arms race, that IP is everything, on the media side of this business. So just curious what you're seeing from your side of the fence.
Yeah, I think in general, we're looking to grow the relationships we have currently. NFL is obviously a great license and a great relationship of mine and our team. And, we were on, I think, the 11th or 12th amendment of that license. EA is a really great relationship. MLB, NHL, I think there's a lot of opportunity in the NHL. And then, we've looked at a lot of strategic licenses that we want to add, and whether that's IndyCar or, Formula One or UFC on the sports or action sports side. And then, we're very interested in category expansion as well. And so in conversation with Fortnite and Minecraft, they ironically have been two of our top 5 most searched terms on our website without results. So we know consumers are looking for it. Music's a big category we want to get into. And we're in conversations with all the big music groups and artists. And so, and then really for me, and my team, how do we expand globally? How do we start to expand our distribution, right? It's been a 99% D2C over the last, I would say, 5 years. And so we're strategically starting to expand into retail. We got approved on a bunch of e-commerce sites, the big box retail e-commerce sites. We want to be in a lot of the team stores. And then it's been a very North American business. So how do we expand globally? I see Premier League soccer is massive. We're in conversations with them. Asia is an interesting market we want to get into. And in conversation with Winners Alliance with cricket. I mean, cricket, as you know, one of the biggest spectator sports in the world and starting to expand globally. So for us, it's, we've done a really good job of cleaning up the business and laying the foundation for growth. And now it's all about, intentional, profitable growth. Getting into retail is a different game, right? We're we're a print on demand business today. Our biggest relationship with FedEx, FedEx does the majority of our printing and shipping, and they have these 18 hubs throughout the country. So it's very efficient in that, if you're in Florida, I'm in California, and somebody else is in Connecticut, right? We use the nearest kind of hub to print and ship those products from. But when you start to think about retail and inventory, it's a different game. So we have to do that in a very intentional, strategic way. And so we've laid out that roadmap for sure.
Yeah, no, and it's interesting to hear the North American expansion outward. We're hearing that quite a bit, and that, obviously introduces different obstacles and challenges. And, I'm going to shift a little away from the business more into the operating side of it. Chris, like putting on the CEO hat coming in here, I'm always curious, like we live and die by our operators. And so, when it comes to like filling those key strategic roles as you guys were taking in and absorbing the business, super curious, like, do you spend time developing those relationships? Did you go out to market and find folks that were super specific to this industry? Or did you absorb a team that came along with it that then you put your own touch on? Always curious, like how you put the right operation team in place to succeed.
It's a combination of all the above, Scott. It's, we inherited some great employees from the prior management, mainly on the design side. Nick's been here, I think, going on 12 years. Denny's been here almost 17 years. Tyler's been here, I'd say 4 or 5 years. And on the graphic design side and product design side has been here a couple of years. And then, it's important to bring in A players, right? And so my partners that I put together to acquire the business and operate the business, Jason Turner is our COO. He's one of the best operators I've ever been around, best communicator. Jen Beaver, I've known since my days at the Colts in the late 90s. So she's our chief partnership and licensing officer. She's a total rock star. And then it's just filling in the pieces there, on the marketing side and the technology side. We acquired a technology company very early on, which I'm sure we'll get into in a minute. The future of this business is to build a fan engagement platform, utilizing this technology that we acquired. And so it was an acqui-hire where, Mehul, we acquired his business and he became our CTO, and we're really excited about that. But, the old saying, it's hire slow and fire fast, right? For this type of business and the type of opportunity we have, it's important to bring in A players, and that's from top to bottom. It's a very intentional hiring process. It's vetting, diligently, and we have some exciting prospects that we want to bring in, and that's really important to the success of the business.
Yeah, no, and I mean, you touched on it, right? Like, and we see this, whether you're starting at the beginning, right, or you're absorbing in the middle and trying to get it to a growth phase for acquisition. I think that's a big nugget. It takes a long time to hire, and then you got to figure out, where you fit in the chain. And I think you sort of hit the precursor, right? Like, so now we're watching such a digital first approach into the fandom world. And, post COVID, we're watching more and more folks want to attend these events, right? I'm curious, with you guys having a tangible product, how do you marry that with a digital ecosystem to, separate yourself from the multitude of fan engagement platforms that have popped up now?
Yeah, it's an interesting opportunity. I think, combining the physical with the digital is the way of the future. And the technology that we acquired has a pretty robust tech stack, AI, AR, can get in the metaverse, can get into blockchain. We're intentionally kind of breadcrumbing that out because we want to train behaviors on how, these decals become portals to content, right? So whether that decal is in my office or my son's room or in a game day giveaway at an NFL game or an NBA game, or it's in a logo on a concession stand, that decal would trigger content. And so, picture scanning Patrick Mahomes decal, that decal will come to life. You see his stats, his highlights, linked to the team store to buy his jersey. We did a light AR field before the Super Bowl last year for loyalty and reward points. And it's exciting, right? And the more decals we sell, the more, we grow that in-home media network. And the moat we have is we have incredible products on the physical side. But again, you have to really train behavior. We're known as a decal company, surface decals, and we have a lot of products, from the big life-size vinyls, which I'm sure you know, and then the minis and the big heads, which you see people using as cheering products in the stadiums and arenas. We sell a lot of cardboard standouts. We sell a lot of pets, and people want to customize their pets. And so, I think for us, it's the next phase of Fathead, but we have to do it very intentionally and like I said, train behaviors. But it's exciting. I think that's the way of the future, and we have a lot of partners that are really excited about it, and a lot of leagues that are really excited about it, and it's going to happen.
Yeah, no, and so I want to stay on this path, right? Because I think UGC is one of the most powerful things that, a brand can have. And Fathead has that, right? Like, I mean, you see these pictures socializing from a strategic roadmap standpoint, right? As the decals become smart, we find educating the audience, like change is something that humans, we just struggle with. And so like, do you like, try and just promote that behavior of user generated content and then organically weave it in? Or do you see this as like a transition from a marketing company to a technology company and sort of a rebrand? I'm curious how you sort of weave that into like where you see this going in the next few years.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, and like I mentioned earlier, the advantage we have is our moat is we have great products. We have a great physical product, and we're in some of the most trusted real estate and kids' bedrooms and man caves and fan caves. And I think it's important to do so in a very kind of calculated way. And I'll give you an example. Like my 10-year-old son, like I said, we designed a full size decal for him, and then these little minis they can send to grandma and grandpa to put on their Stanleys and stuff. But picture my son, scanning that decal in his room, and his, game changer stats will come to life, right? So that's how you
Yeah.
train behavior. Then all of a sudden it's like, oh shoot, this is the behavior that I want. That I can scan my favorite player, and that player will come to life, and I can get content, and so that's the fan engagement aspect of it. But look, we, in all honesty, we have so many opportunities and so much low hanging fruit with our core business. When we bought the business, we were selling about 150,000 decals at an average order value of 106, and so our kind of laser focused KPIs are going from 150,000 to 500,000. AOV of 106 to 200, and there's a lot of ways to do that. As I mentioned, license expansion, category expansion, global expansion. There's just better marketing, better data-driven, more intentional marketing. And if we do our jobs right, that's a nice business. And all of a sudden, you start to incorporate the technology, not only from opening up new additional revenue streams from subscriptions to microtransactions, the sponsorships and advertising, that's a way to really increase the enterprise value of the brand and start to, be viewed a little differently. And so we're excited about it.
Yeah, it's so cool, man. So now we're going to go to the other side of the fence, Chris, right? So now you've absorbed this. We've talked about the amazing side of like what the opportunities are and where you guys are at and what you've absorbed. What's been some of the challenges that you've encountered as you've come in and taken this,
I think from the marketing side, you're seeing these changes with the algorithms with Meta and Google, and it's getting more and more expensive to acquire customers. We've gone through a lot of testing of with these platforms, and the goal is to really diversify platforms, right? There's so many opportunities with TikTok and TikTok Shop and Pinterest and YouTube, and so for us, it's all about diversifying platforms to really get the brand out there in the most authentic way and to leverage UGC. I mean, at the end of the day, we're trying to create a real emotional connection and bring fans closer to what they love. And that's exciting. We want to be a mission-driven, impact-driven business. And I think for us, it's all about how do we get this brand out there in the most authentic way, and how do we get product in people's hands. When my son got his Fathead of Christian McCaffrey, he thought it was the coolest thing ever, right? So it's all about our involvement in youth sports, as we talked about earlier. We have a great partnership with Flexwork Sports, and which is really exciting. They're a great group, and we think we can have a really successful partnership. We're talking to all the biggest organizations in youth sports. So, the challenge has been, kind of on the marketing side. What I say, we're a marketing company. We have incredible products, great brand, and a great product innovation roadmap. But it's like, how do we get the message out there in the most authentic way? How do we live where consumers are at? How do we talk to them in the right way? I think AI is going to play a big part of that in the future, as we discussed, and it's just staying focused. We have so many opportunities and so many partnership opportunities. So it's very important to stay focused. And our mantra around Fathead is either hell yes or not yet, right? Like, in culture too, like developing a culture is very important, as you know, Scott, within an organization if you want to be successful. And hiring the right people, making sure everybody's beating to the same drum, everybody understands our mission on a daily basis, and that's what you got to do to be successful in this game. And but there's nothing better than sports. I'm so excited on the personal level to be back in sports again and leverage these relationships I built over the last 25, 30 years and spending time at these tentpole events that Fathead's a part of. It's exciting.
Do you find yourself pulling from your, 11-year stint in the NFL and getting to experience different locker rooms and how culture was built there? Like, do you find yourself going back in the archives and pulling those nuggets into what you're building now?
1,000%. I played technically for 6 organizations, and I reflect back and look at why we were successful at some of those organizations and why we weren't. And yeah, it's culture. And I'll give you an example. The Raiders, I was so excited to play for the Raiders. I played there 2 years, and we had a lot of talent. And we didn't win a lot of games. We didn't win as many games as we should have. And I'm really excited about this new hire, and Pete Carroll. I think he's one of the best culture setters out there. And I've looked at all my teams, and culture is set from the top down. And that starts with the ownership group and the GMs and the executives, and then it goes down to the coaches. And we're seeing these natural evolution, right, where offensive coordinators or defensive coordinators become head coaches. And just because they can call a great offensive game or defensive game doesn't mean they can, be a great leader and manage the media, manage the coaches, and manage the ownership, and really put all the pieces together. And so you're noticing some of these organizations have been really successful over the last, decade or two. And those are the teams that have great culture, and everybody wants to win. They set a winning culture, and that translates to business. And a lot of the things I've learned from my sports career certainly carry into my business career. And me, I'm always trying to have a growth mindset, always trying to get better on the personal side to be a great leader. And I know my team does that as well. And so it's really, really important.
Yeah, and I was going to go here, so we'll just stay on brand. Chris, there's so much information and the market's moving so quickly. Where do you go to make sure that you're at the top of your game and digesting, consuming, and then regurgitating up-to-date information, downstream to your team and putting yourself in the best position to win?
Pro-fluent sports, man.
That was a plant question. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, your guys, you and Andrew's organization, there's a lot of smart executives in sports that are doing a lot of great things. And I've picked up a lot of nuggets in all seriousness from your platform. And there's other platforms, there's so much information out there. And I try to wake up every day and read the news and read what's going on in sports and culture. And that's important, right? If you have a business like Fathead, you need to stay up on what's trending in the market and where the market's going and where fans are going, and what products they like and what they like to see and what content they like or consume. And so, yeah, I mean, there's so much information out there, but having mentors, I think, is huge. I learned that later in my life, and I understand the value of having mentors that have been through this and that you can learn from. And that's a humbling experience too. And so I think it's a combination of all of them, Scott. I mean, I'm a fan of LinkedIn. I read a lot of great content in LinkedIn. I started, as we talked about earlier, to be more active on LinkedIn, which I think is a good platform to get the stories out there that I want to tell and I want people to hear. And I learn a lot from other people's stories. So I think at the end of the day, it's just having a growth mindset. It's waking up every day and trying to get better every day. And on the personal side, I still train like a professional athlete. And I think being an entrepreneur is just like being an athlete. Like you gotta get better mentally and physically every day. And I'm the wacko that wakes up at 4:30 and jump in the cold plunge at 39 degrees and sauna, and I work out all the time. And I think it's important. It helps me be a better dad and a better husband and a better leader. And and I think it's important. And I feel better. And when you feel better, you perform better. And so I think that's very important in business as well.
What did Dion say? Look good, play good, pay good. And I think there's something in that little flywheel there that's it's very true. And there's so many analogies and parallels that you can bring from playing sports at the highest level and then operating business at the highest level. And it's a lonely journey sometimes, Chris. And I think it's important that we stay grounded as builders, or you can get so lost in the sauce, and you sometimes forget while you're doing it, which, is so neat to hear you guys mission first. Like, I mean, that promised land is ultimately what we're all building towards. So, all right, as we turn the corner and start to wind this down, I got a couple fun questions for you. So, most iconic Fathead of all time, which one sticks out to you?
Jordan.
Jay, man, I love it. When did you guys do the jump man? Like, do you guys still have that license, or was that a one-time deal?
Yeah, we still do. Yeah. I mean, Jordan is just one of the best of all time. And we sell a lot of Jordans. We'll hopefully always have that license. But, when you look at our licenses, I think, the custom side of the business, as we discussed, when we bought it, it was about 25% of the business. It's about 34% of our business. We think we can 10X that. And then it's focusing on what's going on in culture, what's going on in sports. Always looking to add new strategic licenses. But, the NFL is a 900-pound gorilla, right? And obviously I'm biased, but we sell a lot of NFL property and products. And we love the NBA. They're a great partner of ours. We love the NHL. We love the MLB. And so, our goal is to be the greatest partners we can to them and pay as many royalties as we can to these organizations. And we have to do our jobs of marketing this incredible IP and, participating in tentpole events that are happening in sports and entertainment. And that's really the way you do it. But yeah, Jordan for sure.
That's so cool. And I'm going to come on the other side of the fence. As we're starting to decorate my 3-year-old daughter's room, we spent the bulk of today talking about sports, but the license catalog goes far beyond sports, and so instead of doing wallpaper or getting someone to come in and paint a mural, we're looking at Moana and we're looking at Elsa, and the Disney license extension seems to be really neat and a cool way to go ahead and fold into that younger demo that might not be tapping into sports as much.
Yeah, for sure. It's important to look, everybody's not a sports fan, right?
Yeah.
And the thing I feel so bullish about our business is it's okay. If you're not a sports fan, great. We have other products for you. And if you're not a Moana fan, that's cool too. You're certainly a fan of your kids or your pets. And so, we have everything from epic IP licenses and sports and entertainment, but we also, like I said, have that custom side of the business where people can really capture those moments that are happening in life. And whether that's a graduation or a bar mitzvah or a birthday party, or like I said earlier, my son winning an all-star tournament, we want to capture those moments for people. And that's really special to us. And I think it's really special to our consumers.
Listen, as now someone on the new Moana train, that holds just as much weight to me as Jordan, because you see your little kids light up, and there's nothing like that. And, these life-size figures are truly something special. So Chris, for anybody listening that wants to get in touch with you, potentially partner, collaborate, or learn more about Fathead, where can they find you?
Yeah, my email is chris@fathead.com. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm fairly active on Instagram, cheath44. I'm looking to build that platform out a lot. But yeah, always open to meeting great people and always open to forming partnerships with great organizations. And so it's been fun, man. Like I said, it's been fun being back in sports again. I think we have a really special opportunity and an opportunity to partner to really make an impact in sports and culture.
Yeah, and I'm going to second that, getting the chance to know you and watch you build. This is, to me, what gives me optimism in the sporting world, when we're able to take folks that had that bug as a kid, you play it at the highest level, and then you turn around and you keep the integrity of sports and you understand it from multiple lenses. So we come in and make this a holistic journey, both for the teams, the players, the fans. We all get that little slice of greatness. So from the Profluence team, Chris, we're loving watching you build. We're having a blast connecting the dots with you, and wish you nothing but success on the horizon.
Appreciate it, Scott, and congrats on what you're building, you and Andrew and team. It's a really special community. Anybody out there that's not part of this community, you need to be part of this community. I've really, in all seriousness, I've learned a lot. I've met a lot of great people, and so congratulations on what you're building. Excited to see it continue.
That was not a paid ad spot, but we're going to end it on that one. Chris, my man, keep on keeping on, brother, and we'll do this a check-in here soon, and wish you nothing but success.
Thanks, Scott. Appreciate it.
Talk soon.